Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday and it's yet another day for CodeCamp. Okay, so a brief recap on our previous class. We started building our KC Notes app with NestJs. We implemented authentication and also input validation, but then we didn't complete the validation of the input. Today, we start off with input validation. We validate the auth input so that if a user tries to sign in or sign up with empty values, they'll get an error. From there, we continue with notes. We implement CRUD operations on the notes, where user can create notes, edit notes, view notes, and all of that. So without wasting time, let's dive in. So in today's class, we cover input validation, both on the auth, both on authentication and notes. But first of all, we need a package. Let's search for class transformer. Is it transformer? Okay, class transformer. Okay, so we need this package to validate user input in NestJs. So it's ES6 and TypeScript. Nowadays, you are working with classes and constructor objects more than ever. So class transformer allows you to transform plain object to some instance of class and vice versa. So it also allows to serialize the serialized objects based on criteria. So this too is super useful on both front end and back end. Okay, so you can go ahead and then view some class to plain to class, and all of these. So what we're going to do is we install it. So let's just come over here, copy this, and then just close this one. Come over to our VS Code. So what we do here with CD 11, that's our next KC notes. There's the terminal. We install class transformer. Hit enter. So the class transformer is okay. It's done installing already. Let's clear the terminal once more. Now, if you open the package JSON, you see that we have a class transformer here and a class validator. These are the two packages we need for input validation in NestJs. So first thing is we'll come over to the source folder, and in the main TS, we import validation pipe from NestJs/common. So what we do is we come over here, import common packages, what NestJs uses as its common library for building applications. So we'll come over here and then we import validation pipe like this. So what are we going to do with the validation pipe? So before the app listen, we see app use global pipe, not global guards, but global pipes, and then we'll say new validation pipe. Okay, so before I continue, you are seeing some auto completion from GitHub Copilot. So I decided not to disable it today. It's a good thing. I don't know if some of you have been using GitHub Copilot, but it's a good thing to learn how to code with AI, so that not while learning, but while actually doing the work. So when you're using GitHub Copilot, it will actually help you it will aid in coding and all of that. It will reduce your work for you. But then you have to be cautious while using it because it may lead you the wrong way. So basically, maybe I should just disable it or leave it on. Okay, so now let's move over to, now we've enabled the app use global pipe, validation pipe now. So what we do is we say npm run start dev. So we'll start our application here. Okay, so we've started our application, and then let's move over to starting compilation in watch mode. So it's compiling, found 0 errors, watching for 5 changes. Okay. So our application have started, and what we do now is move over to Postman. Okay, what are these files? Notes. We still have our notes here. Okay, let's make it a post, but then we see slash sign up. And in this sign up, we need the body. Okay, not this, but a body of a username. And we say, let me just say Sisu, and then password of, let's say, Christopher, like this. Okay, so, okay, let me just leave it empty first, then send it. Okay, now we are seeing a message here of username should not be empty. And the reason why we're seeing is because we tried validating our input earlier in auth. If you go to auth and then go to DTO, you see that we are validating this input. And then it's a string, and then we can say options, and we will say message username is required. As you can see, GitHub Copilot is completing it for us. So username is required. But if you don't want it like that, you can see username. Okay, that is basically fine. Username is required. So now if you come over here and then make this request again, this time around, the message is username is required, and it is a badge request with a status code of 400. That's great. Now, if you impute this username, if you come over here and then say at min length, and then GitHub Copilot is completing it for us, but then we'll say 3, min length of 3, because some people's usernames can be Chi, Chu, Cha. Okay, so now if we make this request again, and then we say CH, and then I make this request with CH, so username must be longer than or equal to 3 characters. Then you can come over here and say, okay, the message should be, username must be at least 3 characters. Save it to be automatically formatted. Here is username must be longer than or equal to, okay. But this is more, username must be at least 3 characters. Now, if you come over here, make this request again, the message will become username must be at least 3 characters. That's great. Okay, now if you put in the username of Sesu, and then we come over to the password, empty, we send the request. We have password must be longer than or equal to 6 characters, and password should not be empty. And the reason why we're getting 2 error messages is because here we have, this should not be empty, and it should be at least 6 characters. So if you come over here and then see message, then GitHub Copilot will complete it for us. Password is required. And this time around, if you send this to tell you that, okay, password is required, and then the username. So if you come, let's give this a custom message as well. We see message is, let's say password must be at least 6 characters. This is great. Okay, so now if you make this request once more, And then we have password must be at least 6 characters and password is required. So if you come over here and then enter a password of Chris, and we make this request once more, we will see that the second error is gone. Now we have password must be at least 6 characters. It's because this password is not up to 6 characters. So if you say Christopher, and we send this request, you will see that we are logged in and we have our token right here. So this is basically how to validate user input. Okay, now let's come over here and then say we want to send, instead of this, we send 6. Instead of a string, we are sending a number. Then we make this request. Say, username must be a string, and the username must be at least 3 characters. So we don't even need a custom message yet because this is self-explanatory. Username must be a string because what we are saying here is string means username should be a string. But if you come over here and then see at is number, and then let's just comment this out, and we send this request. Now you can see the second error is gone, and then it's a number, but it's required that the number should be at least 3. If you add 6, 2, 3 here, this is valid. And then our user will be signed in with a number. But in Prisma, we throw an error. So let's try this. Okay, user must be at least 3 characters. Okay, this is a number and not, okay. It is not working because user must be at least 3 characters and we're giving a number, and this is just like a single digit. Okay, being a single digit. Okay, let me just do something like this. Okay, it will not work. This is this is a number. Okay, username must be a number conforming to a specified constraint. Okay, basically let me just undo this. Okay, and leave it like this. So over here we come and then we remove this one, and then we uncomment this. So our validation is complete. This is great. And then we remove this is number from here. So if you come over, as you can see, I did not explain in our Note app where we use NodeJs. We did not set up ESLint or Preacher, but here it is automatically set up for us. So these are rules. So you can basically come here and see no console off. And then if this no console is off, I just want to show you something. No console, you say off. So if you come over to, so basically what this file is doing is taking the plugin of Prettier, and then the TypeScript ESLint / recommended. It's extending from these base packages, and then it's allowing you to specify your own rules. So no console off means you can basically log. Okay, let's go over to auth service, and then we can do something like console.log, and let's see user like this, and we don't see a warning. But this is not good if you push our code to production with all of this. So this is not good. So if you come over here and make this request, and we open okay, user with username says already exists because I already signed in. Now, if you go to console, we see that here we have the body, the response body of message. Okay, no. Okay, this is not here. It should be here. Okay, we have the user of username says and password Christopher, which is not safe for us. So what we do is if you come over to oops, I've closed the file. If you come over to ESLint RCJS, and then you see warning. Now, if you go over to services and you open the file, okay, why is it not taking effect? This is supposed to warn us that, oh, you are not supposed to log this to the console, but then I don't know. Okay, warn, not warning, warn. Okay, so if you come over here, open this file, we're supposed to be warned, but then it is not working. Okay, we'll say, since we're extending from TypeScript ESLint, we say TypeScript ESLint / no console, and then we say one. Okay, so let's check once more and see. Okay, this is still not working. Okay, let's say error. Okay, I don't know why this is not working. Okay, let's go to the main TS and then do something like log, something like this. You were supposed to get an error here. ESLint, okay. TypeScript ESLint / no console error. Okay, so no console off. Okay, let's try the off and see then. NTS. The off simply means this shouldn't warn us or error us. Okay, so let's just do away with it. Okay, basically, I don't know why this their ESLint configuration is not working. There's no option like on, no. But then we have to we set up this by ourselves. Okay, so that is basically how to validate inputs. And then since the ESLint is trying to give us some tough time, and here we are done with the user authentication and validation. So it's time to head over to the notes. So in the notes, what we do is we say next generate module. Then we say notes like this. And then our notes module will be generated here. And we have this notes module. So we clear the terminal, and then we see NestJ, and then we see service, and then we see notes. So what else do we need? We have a service here, we have a module, and then we also generate controllers for this. So NestJ controller, and then we see notes as well, like this. Great. So now we have the note service. We have also the note module, and we have the node controller. Okay, so how many routes do we need? We have about 4 routes. Like we have get notes, update notes, and then delete notes. So let's just go right ahead and then try to implement the controllers. So in our controller file, it's already generated for us. So all we need is we don't really have a node service here. Okay, we have a node service. Basically, what we do is we say constructor. Then we say okay, GitHub Copilot. Thank you. Then we say private, and then read only. Then say nodes service. It's of nodes service like this. Okay, so we've injected the node service. So all we're going to do now is to create our route. So the first route is a get route, and then we say add get NestJs common. And then what is the name of our route? We say async. As you can see, GitHub Copilot is trying to complete it for us, but that is not the name we want. We want the name of async get notes, and then it's also complete for us. And then what it's doing is return these notes service gets notes. Okay, let's no, we don't have that yet. So we'll come over here and then say return greets. Now message get all notes. So the next route is also a get route, but with an ID. Then GitHub Copilot is auto completing it for us. Then we go over here and then say get notes, and then return message get a note. So the next route here, it's okay. Let's make the first one a post route. So we have to create a note before we can get the note. So say here is at post, and the HTTP method is HTTP code is 201, and we have create notes which will return and okay. So we have this. Okay, this is a single quote. Okay, so that's the problem of coding with AI sometimes. But this is a single quote. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3 routes. So the next route, this is create note route. So this route, we have a guard. We need a guard here. You know, when we look at the auth routes, all the routes that needed protection, that a user must be signed in before accessing this route. We have them here, and then we use guards to protect this route. So we have a guard on the main route because the user must be signed in, and then this route will only be accessed with a token. Then in the sign out, we also have a guard. We're guarding it because the user must be signed in before they can sign out. So in our node route, we also have a guard at use guards, and then say JWT guard, and then GitHub Copilot is reading our code and then try to auto complete it for us. So we import the JWT guard, and then what else? Get notes? No, because you can get all the notes even if you are not authenticated. But to delete and update notes, you need to be authenticated first. So we have JWT guard, and then get notes, and then the next one should be at patch with an ID, and then here should be, we need a guard, yes, GitHub Copilot, thank you. And then async update notes, return message, update a note, and this. So we have our update notes route, and then the last but not the least, we have at delete. We want to delete a note, we use the note ID. So we have async. We've got this. A user must be signed in before they can delete a note. So the next thing here is async delete, and then we say return message delete a note. Okay, so we have our routes. How many routes do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I guess. Yes, we have 5 routes. Okay, so now that we have 5 routes, let's clear our terminal. Then we start with we create another folder here, which is DTO. We create a DTO for notes. And then we say this is a create new file, create node DTO.ts. So when you take a look at this DTO here, and you see a DTO is basically a class. So what you come over here and then we see export class. And then what should we call this? We'll call it, wow, GitHub Copilot. Thank you. Hit the tab. Once you see this, you hit the tab and then it will be auto-completed for you like this. But these are not imported. So you see Control spacebar and then you hit enter, it will be imported. Here you place your cursor here at the end of the name, hit Control spacebar, hit enter, and it will be imported as well. So here we have custom messages. We have it's not empty and the title is required, content is required. So we can also add another one at min length. And we have title must be at least 3 characters. We also have content of at min length. Then we have 10, yes, GitHub Copilot. Content must be at least 10 characters. So this is great. So we have title, content, and that's all we need to create a note. Okay, so if you come over to note controller, we start with create note. So in our create note, we need a body and a request. So the reason why we need a body and a request is because, let's see why. We have a body, and then we have, the body should be a note because the incoming note, which we have a title and a content, then here we see create note DTO like this. And then we also need a request, add a request like this. Okay, add request, and then this should be a request like this. So why do we need a request? Okay, then the type here should be request coming from express request like this. Okay, so now we're good. Why do we need a request? We need a request because we'll be grabbing a user from the request object. When you look at this JWT strategy, okay, this JWT strategy here, when they grab an incoming request, incoming token, it will decode the token, then verify the token. So after verification, it will attach the user object on the request object. So when we try to use this guard here, when you look at this guard here, the reason why we're using this guard is because once you use this guard, this is required of that user. If there is no user object, it will not allow you to access this route. But if there's a user object, the user object is on the request object. So you can basically access it on the request object. So that's basically it. So if you come over here and then you see log request user, and then also log notes, let's say notes like this. You see, let's come over to, okay, let's start our app, npm run start there first. Okay, so we'll come over to Postman, hot, node. Okay, let's come over to nodes here. And let's, okay, if you make a get request, you have get all nodes. That is a get, to get all the nodes. And then if you say /1, you have get a node, basically. So let's make a post request with nodes. We want to basically create a node with a body. You see the body is raw and it's a JSON, it's in JSON format. So what we do here is to say title is basic note, and the content is some kind, okay. So unit test, you see, write unit test for sign up. And let's send this request. So create a note, and then if you come over to the terminal, we'll see that we have a user object of ID, this username, crystal, and then the note of an empty node because the user doesn't have notes yet. And then the notes here, the incoming notes that we want to create, we have the unit, the title of unit test, and the content of write unit test. So as you can see, the user here has the ID, username, notes, and all of that. So we can basically access this here and then create notes and do whatsoever we want to do with that. Okay, so this is basically it. And then if you come over to Postman and remove this, making it less than 5 characters. Is this 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you send this, okay, create a note, create a note. Okay, we're still having, let's check the DTO. Okay, it's not this one. Note, note controller. Okay, let's check the DTO here. Create node DTO. And I'll create node DTO.ts. We have all of these. Class validator. Okay. So why is it not working? Why is it not working? At module. So if you look at the auth module here, we have controller outside to WT strategy. Okay. Node service. Okay, so I guess everything. Create node DTO. Min length 3. Okay, 3. Let's make it 5. Okay, I was thinking it's 5. And send this request once more. Okay, now we have title must be at least, okay, 5 characters and not 3 characters. So GitHub Copilot completed it for me, and I was thinking it's 5. Okay, 5 characters. And if you send it once more, you will have this error. If you try to do the title completely, send this once more, we have 2 errors. Title is required. The title must be at least 5 characters. Okay. So moving on, now that we have our controller for create notes, how do we create a note? So we move over to the note service. So in the note service, we will have basically 5 routes, I mean 5 methods. Just as we have the methods in this notes controller, so we can basically implement this, all the functionalities in the node service that can be used to create our nodes in the database. Okay, so in here we need a Prisma service. We say constructor, and then an empty constructor. Then we say private Prisma, private Prisma is of type Prisma service. Prisma, is it Prisma service like this? Okay, and when we create it, okay, now we're having an error. Imports Prisma service is from a separate module. Okay, so if you come over to this note module, we do not import the Prisma service. So if you say import, note that, you say import. This is an empty array. Then you see Prisma service like this. And now this error should be gone. Okay, the error is gone. Okay, we still have this error. And it's saying scope, please remove Prisma service for import service. Okay, so why are we getting this error? Let's check the auth module. So we imported the, okay, Prisma module, not the service. Okay, it's a module. We import the module here, so we can be able to use it in the Node module, Prisma module, like this. Okay, so let's do away with the service. Okay, so our app is now up and running, so we don't have any errors. So we can now use this Prisma module in our own Nodes module. So let's get over to the service, and then we have the Prisma service here. So we have different routes, and the first route here is the create node route. So in the create node route, we see, okay, this is a method for creating node. I'll say this create node. Copilot is completing this for us. So what do we need to create a node? Okay, so we need a node and a user ID. So in here, what we basically do is we say we take in a node, which is a create node DTO and a user ID of string. So it's a string and not a number. User ID of string. So in here, what do we want to do? We already validated input, so we are sure that everything is handled in the node controller. The request, if there's no user, this will throw an error, but if there's a user, we'll grab the node, the request, and then pass it down to the node service. So we are sure that everything is being taken care of. So what we need to do here, we basically say return await Prisma, and then we say nodes create, then let's this, okay, nodes create. Okay, this is double return. Let's do this. Okay, return Prisma node create. So we pass in the nodes, and then we say user connect ID user.id. Okay, so the reason why we're using we're connecting the user because we are sure that the user is created. So we want to connect the user ID to the user that is logged in. So this node, we have this user and the ID will be of the user that is logged in. So if you don't want to do this, you can basically do away with this, and then you can say user ID like this, and you are good to go. But doing this, you are basically writing it, you are basically creating the user ID. Instead of doing that, I prefer to connect because you are sure that the user is created. So you just want to connect the user ID to the user that has the node, the logged in user. So this is basically it. So now that we've created a service to create nodes in our database, if you head over to the node controller, we'll get an error if we try to use, okay, so we return await node. This does no service does create nodes, and then we have request user ID. This is strand. ID does not exist on type user. Okay, ID does not exist on type user. Okay. So what we do here, we see const user ID is equal to request user ID. Then we can say here like this, request as any dot user dot ID. So now we can basically just come over here and then say user ID like this, and we are good to go. So now that we've grabbed the user ID, then we passed it to the create node service, and in the create node service here we have the node and the user ID, which is a string. So we grab that and then we create a node. So let's try to create a node and then see what we got. So let's say unit text, and then we send this request once more. Okay, so we create and then return the node. And right here, you can see the ID is CLY. And then the title of the note is unit test. The content is write unit test for sign up, and then it is created on so. Okay, so that is basically it. So we can spice this up, and then we can see, you can come over here, you can see existing, let's say existing node is equals to this Prisma node dot find unique, where title is equal to node dot title. Okay, because the title here is not unique. So let's just stop our server, come over to Prisma, and then modify our schema a little bit. Let's come over to schema Prisma. We'll come over to the title and then make it unique, at unique like this. Then we see mpx Prisma migrate, and then we see change note title. Okay, to unique like this. So hit enter. So this migration will be created, and then our database will be modified. So are you sure you want to create and apply this migration? Hit Y, which is yes, and then our migration will be applied. So let's start our server again. So we'll start our server, and then we'll go to our node service. This error will go away. Now the node is a unique constraint right now. So if you say if existing nodes, then we throw if existing nodes, then we throw a new bad request exception with a node already exists like this. So let's try this once more. Let's try to create a node with the same title. Okay, node already exists. Okay, or we can say node with we can do something like node with title, and then we say okay, title, and we see node dot title like this, already exists. Okay, so let's send this request once more. Let's see. Okay, note with title unit tests already exists. Yes, so let's make it like this to be more clear. Okay. And then send the request once more. Okay, a note with title unit tests already exists, so that we don't go ahead and create two identical notes. Okay, this is a note and not a task. So why am I writing task for note? Okay. Okay, we can change the title to how to write unit test. Okay, that's basically it. So now that we already have, then we return that. Okay, so the next method is the get notes method. So this method will simply do its work. If you come over here and then see async get notes, and then say await this Prisma notes find many. So we're just finding all the notes in our database, and then we're not specifying any user because we want to return all the notes. So if you come over to controllers and then remove this and uncomment this one here, that's all we need. We say return this node service dot get notes. So the get note service in the get notes method in the node service here is simply getting all the notes from the database. So if you come over here to Postman and then see this, the get this here, and then we say get slash notes, and then we send this request. You can see that we have one note in our database. So if you come over here and then create and see how to write unit tests, and then see just write unit test for sign up, and then we send this request once more. We have how to write unit tests. Okay, so this is great. And you may be wondering why we're doing this without being authenticated. We are actually authenticated. If you come over here and you come over to headers, authorization, come over to bearer token, you can see that there is a token here that ends with _s. So let's check our create note, check authorization, check bearer token, and then come over here. You can see, click this, and you can see that this token is automatically added for us, and then it also ends with _s, and it will expire in 1 week. That is 7 days, as we specified in our authentication module. Okay, so that is the reason why we are able to create notes. Okay, let's, for example, we come over to this place, and then we do away with this token, and then we change the title of our note to how to write unit test for auths. And then we send this request once more, and then you see an error, not authorized, unauthorized, which is the status code of 401. Okay. Even without changing the title, you still have the same result. Okay, so if you come over to authorization, the token, and then you undo, you have that. If you try to create this, you already have the note, and these are note to title, how to write unit tests already exists. Okay, so that's basically it. Now let's go to here. We have 2 notes. So if you make this request again, we have, okay, unit tests. Okay, we have 2 notes. We have how to write unit tests. This one here, created on 11:56:58, and this was created on 11:51:51. Great. So now that we have 2 notes, if we try, the next method we will implement is to get a single user note. So we come over to, okay, the note service, and then we add another method of async, get notes by ID, or we say get note instead of notes. Then we see we have 2 things here. We have let's say the ID of the note. Okay, let's say note ID, which is a string, and then we also have user ID, which is also a string. So we get the note ID of a specific user. We're just trying to make this more explicit, because even if you supply a single note ID, all the nodes have unique IDs. The IDs are very, very unique. So, but we just make it explicit. We will say user ID like this. So we get the node by its ID, and where the node also had that very specific user ID, and we'll get it here. Okay, so how do we grab the node ID and user ID from our node controller? So let's implement this route. So in here, we will say we don't need a body. We just need a request. We have the request, which is a request like this. Okay, so how do we grab, okay, we need the request to grab the user ID, and we also need add params like this with ID of, let's see, basically ID of, let's just leave it like this. We're grabbing the params, the incoming parameters, and then we are destructuring it and then getting the ID from it. So when you come over here, if you remove this, GitHub Copilot will try to auto-complete things for you. So await this node service.get notes, and then we'll see, okay, instead of leaving this here, we can see grab this one here, bring it up here, and then const user ID is equal to this, like this. And then we can, oops, not, you can say user ID like this, and we are good to go. So now if you come over here to Postman and then grab a task ID, this is a task ID. We want to get unit test. Sorry, the note ID. We want to grab unit test. We grab this note ID. Then we come over to this place. Then we see get note. Then we remove this one. We paste in, oops, no. Is it ID I grabbed or title? Okay, ID, not title. Grab this ID, go to get notes, and then paste in the ID to send this request. Internal server error. Let's check. Okay. Reading ID. Okay. Params. At param, we have, okay, let's use param and then say param dot ID. Okay, is this correct? We have the request. Okay, it's not. Okay, ID, param of P. Okay, let me just say P and then we say P. String. Let's leave it as any first and then we'll say P dot ID. Okay, so now we can be able to make this request. I'm just leaving it like that so we are clear of what we're doing. Now let's make this request once more. The internet server error. And then the reason why is because cannot read properties of undefined ID. Okay, so then let's return log and then log P to the console. Internet server error ID. Okay, param ID. Okay, this is a get request with an ID. Yes, this is the ID and the param ID. Okay, you know what? Let's hop over to NestJs and then check the basics. Documentation. Let's reference the docs and then let's get over to controllers and then get params key string. Okay. We have the create find all. We have okay the redirect and then we have the params. Yes, at params. Okay, we have params.id. Params.id. Okay. Basically, all we can do is something like the params ID of string and then this. Okay, so let's come over here. Params ID of string like this. You can do this. You can see. Okay, you can see in here we can say params and then we can say params like this. So do we need any type? Over here we don't need. Okay, it can be a type of any. Then we have any here. Then we say log params dot id. So let's send this request once more. Okay, so we're still getting an internal server error. And we're still getting the same error, undefined reading ID. So what is the reason behind? Okay, remove this ID. First, let's do away with the ID. Okay, then we can be able to access the ID in the parameters. Okay, let's send the request. Okay, still the same thing. Reading ID. Okay. Let's do away with it there. Send. Cannot get node slash. Okay, so we have this ID here. If you look at, let's grab this one, bring it over to this place. I don't know, But then let's try it like this. And it's good that we're having this error. Okay, internal server error. So we're having this /node/ID. So this is the ID of the node. And it's a get request. This is a get request. So let's still check. Here we have find at params, and then params.id, get ID, param. So why are we getting this error? Get node. This is a get node route. Params. ID. And the request. Make this request once more. Let's see. Internal server error. Okay, I guess this is coming from here. Oops. Oops. We implemented the method in the service and then we forgot to, let's just call it, return that and then comment this out. Okay, we have the params .id. So I guess this should work now. So let's make this request. Internet server error again. Reading ID. Cannot read properties of, okay, node controller get nodes. This is the node controller get nodes. Param of params. Okay, so just return no. Okay, we're not even accessing the node service. So basically the error is from here. So let's remove this one as well, and then leave the request. And then let's log the requests. Oops, our app is down. Okay, that started. Okay, let's send the request once more. We have an internal server error. Okay, so why this cannot read properties of undefined ID, reading ID? Oops. Where is this coming from and why this error? Okay, let's do away the request first. This, and then send it like this. Okay, so now we are returning null. So we can basically return an object like this message gets note. Let's send this request again. Get a note. Okay, so now we come over here and then say at param. Use the params with type of any like this, and then we say log params. Let's check where the param is coming from. The param is coming from next command. Okay, that's where it's supposed to come from, basically. Because Express doesn't have this param. It only has a request and a response. So this is coming from here, parameters, and these next params string ID or next param ID like this. We can access it basically like this. So why are we getting errors? Let's send it. Get notes. Okay. Now we are getting the ID. Okay, so what was wrong with our implementation at first? And then we can say, okay, since the param is returning an ID, we can just grab this ID from here. And then we can say the ID is a string. The ID is a string. And then we can say log ID. That is the task and the note ID. Then we send the request once more. Okay, so now everything is working as expected. And then here we have the note ID. Okay, so let's remove all of these. Then this, but we basically don't have we just say ID. Then we can rename this to okay. ID, that's a user ID, note ID. And you can bring it in here as note ID. So we also need the requests. At request like this, and then we can see const user ID is equal to requests as any.user.id. Okay, so now let's try to get a single note with an ID and a user ID. Oops, the same error again. Undefined region ID, note controller get notes. Let's say ID. ID. Okay. Send this once more. Let's see getting this. Okay, I thought we just rectify this problem. Okay, return null and then log. Let's basically say param. Say params, and then we say any. Then we can say log params ID like this. So let's check it once more. Internet server error. Cannot read. Cannot read. It cannot read properties of. Okay. So let's basically say try catch. Paste this in here, and then let's log the error to the console error. Okay. So the error type error cannot read properties of undefined being ID. Type error. Log params only. Type error. Send this once more. This is query params. ID. No, you can see here we have you can say ID. Now let's copy this, take this away from here. And in here we have the ID. So let's paste in the ID and then.
Sir, I think I know where the error is coming
We have
from.
something to say. You can go ahead.
Okay, yeah, the ID I think is from the rec.user.id. You need to add just JWT guard.
Okay. Ow. I completely, okay, it's true. User guard and then this. Okay. Basically, that's it. You can see here the params ID, and here we have the ID of a string like this. And so let's do away with this. Okay, so I guess this should work as expected. Let's do away with the try catch like this. Okay. So let's send this request once more. Unauthorized, okay, because basically we are logged in. Bearer token. Okay, have token expired. Let's come over here and then change this to sign in. Send this request. 4. what's happening. /sign in. Okay, sign in like this. /sign. Why am I making these mistakes? The request once more. Okay, so now we have a token. So we can basically grab this token here and then bring it over to where we want to get. Okay, so now send this request once more. Okay, and here we are returning get node ID and user ID, and the node service return. I will find unique where ID, node ID, and then the user ID. Okay, send this. So why are we having nothing here? The params here, we have the ID. You can just grab this ID from here and bring it over to this place /ID, and then we can send the request. Okay, so let's check where the problem is coming from. With the node controller, we are returning because user ID is equal to this, so then we're saying blah blah blah. Return away this does no service what gets nodes. Let's say log user ID and the ID as well. So let's make this request once more. Make it once more. Okay, so we have the user ID and the node ID. So node service dot get nodes of ID, user ID, and in the node service, we're returning node find unique where ID, node ID. Okay. And here we are returning away. Oops. Okay, let's do away with this. And then let's return no. And then let's say log. Let's log this to the console. So I basically don't know why we're getting a lot of errors today, unnecessary errors for that matter. So let's send this request. Send it once more. And then see what we got here. Get note. Okay, ID, parent, ID. Node service, it's node. Get note of node ID and user ID. Oops. So why this error, man? Are we getting this error, please? Parent ID first thing. This is not basically an error, but it is returning nothing. And here we are getting null. Okay. So in the node service, we're saying this Prisma node find unique. Okay, let's say find first, we still return the same thing. So let's say find first. Okay, so basically, I think the error will be coming from here. The X Prisma Studio like this. So it's taking a bit of time. MPX Prisma Studio. So where are we? No, let's change direct CD like this and then MPX Prisma Studio. So so let's see what we've got. We have 2 nodes and we have 2 users. No, Yes, we have 2 nodes and 2 users. So the first user has 2 nodes and the second user has no nodes. Okay. This user, Crystal, has 2 nodes and this one has no nodes. Okay. So let's come over here and then sign in with Crystal. Where is it out? Sign in, and the body here is, let's say, Crystal. Like this. So let's sign in with this user. Okay, so let's grab this token once more and then take it over to this place. In the authorization, the bearer token. Okay, do this and then paste it in here. Okay, so let's try to get all nodes. Okay, so we have all the nodes here. Let's check whose user ID is this. User ID of this is Crystal's user ID. Okay, so let's come over to the nodes, Crystal's nodes, and grab one. Okay, let's say nodes. Let's grab this ID here. Then let's go to Postman and then say we want to get a single node. Paste it over here and then send this request. Okay, now we should have something. Okay, now we have a note. Okay, it's because that was a different user altogether. And then let's come over here and then do away with this one. This. And then we can basically say return this. Okay, so now we have everything working as expected. Now if you send this, we have a single note. Okay, so it was no Crystal that was signed in, and that was the reason why we were getting nothing. We were getting null. Okay, unit test ID on all of this. Okay, so basically our implementation wasn't complete. That was the reason why we're getting that error. And then if you come over to node service, we can basically say, we can say we don't return anything here. We can say const node is equal to this. And then we say if there is no node, we can throw a badge request exception, not found, like this. But if there's a node, we can simply return node. Okay, so now let's go back and then remove this ID of 3 and send this request. And then we say node found. Okay, and then we add 3 and then we send, and then we have our node. Okay, so let's go back here. Now our implementation is now complete. Okay, so moving on, we have what else do we have? The patch. So the patch also is coming in with body of node create node DTO, and also a request like this. So what do we need here? We need the user ID, and what do we need here as well? We need to create update nodes. And we're getting an update node doesn't exist on type node service. Okay, so we implement our update node, say async update nodes with user ID and this. Then we basically say because existing node is equal to await principal. So if there's an existing node ID already exists. Okay, so we want to update and not create. So first of all, it's finding the existing node. So if there's no existing node, then we say node with ID, node.id, not found. not found like this. Okay, so now existing nodes. It's not that we will say existing nodes.id. So if there's no such nodes, and then we say okay, so but if the node exists, we say okay, existing nodes.id. So basically what we are taking here, we say select ID true to optimize our query. Okay, so we first of all get the ID using the note because the title is unique, so we can use it to grab the note from the database. So if there's no note, we throw a new bad request exception with a message, note with ID, existing note.id does not exist. Or, sorry, not found. But if there is, they will say, await this operational note updates where ID, existing note ID, and the data is note. Okay, and then we can say where the user ID as well to make it more explicit like this. Okay, so let's come back to our node controller. And our node controller, okay, it's complete. We have update node, and then the user ID. We pass in the user ID. Okay, so we also need to grab one more thing, and this is the params, the ID. So instead of passing in the complete node, we can pass in node ID. Then we can say here is the node. That's it. Okay. This is ID. Then let's just leave this here as ID as well. And if you come over to node service, we can change this node, create node DTO to ID of string. And then we can find this using the ID and not the node title like this. Okay. But then we also need the node in order to update. So we say node. Then we say node is a create node DTO. So if you come over here, we will still need to pass in the nodes and the ID, nodes, the nodes ID and the user ID. So now we grab the ID and then we use it in here to find the specific node. And if that node doesn't exist, we say node with ID, and then we can say the incoming ID without, okay, that's not found. But if there is, then we update the node with the ID, not even using the incoming ID. You can just update it with the ID supplied in the request like this. Okay, so now let's try updating our nodes. Let's come over here. Let's change this to a post request sharply. Then the body of raw and type JSON. Then we can see the title of write test and the content is of type sign up unit test like this. And in here, this is the task, the note we had earlier. So we want to update it right now. So it's a post, let's say it's a patch request. I need to post patch request with the ID and the body. So let's send this. Okay, so now we've updated our note. Now we have write unit test and then sign up unit test. So if we move over to here, we have write unit test 4, and then just write. So if you refresh this, we have the write unit test, and the content is now sign up unit test. So if you come over here, and then you can do basically change this to, you can change this to sign in unit test, and then send the request once more. So here we have sign in unit test, and if you come over here, then you refresh, we have sign in unit test, write unit test, and sign in unit test. Okay, so we are done with updating our, what is this? Okay, so we're done with updating our note. So we can go over to nodes controller again, and this time around is delete node. So what do we need to delete a node? So we need basically ID. Let's say add params, add param, and this param we grab. Okay, we'll grab the ID and the request. So in here we grab the user ID. This is the user ID, and then we will return await this node service delete node ID user ID. So I'm getting an error here. It doesn't have any delete node method. So we come over here and then we see async delete node, and then we have the node ID and the user ID. And then we'll simply see once existing node is equal to this that. But if there's no existing node, we say node with ID not found, like this, and then we'll delete the node and then return it. Okay, so now if you come over to this place, we have no errors. So what we will do is we come over to Postman, grab this node ID. Okay, and change this one to delete. Okay, that's basically the node ID, and then send this request. So now we have this request. So let's send it again once more. And we have node with ID, this ID not found because we've already deleted it. So if we come over to our Prisma Studio and then we refresh it, we only have one node left. So we can basically also delete this node, copy this ID, come over here. And if you don't want to add IDs like this, you can do something different. You can see in the params, you can see you have nothing here. The query params, you have nothing. So you can add an ID like this. And if you don't want to explicitly add it like this, okay, these are params. These are queries, not this is query parameters. So you can just remove this here. Come over here. This one is you can see ID. This is a part variable. This is a part variable. These are known as query params. The search, you can simply add the search here. These are known as anyone that starts with a question mark followed by the key and then the value is a query parameter. Why the one with that ends with an ID of a certain value is known as a path variable. So if you want to dynamically add path variables, you can just come here and say ID, and then you can see your IDs here. Then if you come over here and add a value, this value will be used as the ID, but you can directly add it here. If you don't want to do that, you can just add it here and then make this request. So now we've deleted this and returned it. So if you send this request once more, we have no note with ID, this dot not found. So if you come over here and then refresh our Prisma Studio, you can see that we have no notes. Then if you come over to, we have 0 notes, and the user will have 2 users, Crystal Sesu, and then they have 0 notes each. Okay, so that is basically it. Now we've implemented the service for the node controllers, how to get and how to update all our nodes. So you can even clarify things by coming over here. Okay, so what is this? You can see, okay, let me just document this a bit. We have nodes. We will allow GitHub Copilot to do this for us. To add another one, and this one here is this is a string, but then this is the user ID. And then you can see, come over here and then hit GitHub Copilot should complete this for us, create a node, and then it returns this, a promise. A promise of what? It returns a promise of, this is a create node, but then it should return something more, a promise of any. This is where we need interfaces. So what is this returning? When we create a node, what do we return? We return a data of user, this. Let's come over here. Interfaces. Let's create another folder of interfaces. And then we say nodes interface node, okay, node dot interface dot ts. Let me see export interface, and then we see node like this. So GitHub Copilot should complete this for us, this, and then we see ID of string. Okay, so this is basically not it. This is not what we want. Okay, now we can see the node here, or if you don't want to explicitly write this, you can see node. You can see inode. See node interface, or let's just leave it at inode. This is the convention for writing interfaces. Then we can say extend node, which is coming from Prisma. Where is it? Extend node coming from Prisma. So I can't see. Extend node coming from Prisma. Okay, yes, like this. So basically, we can come over to our node service and then see this is returning a node, inode. So where this node coming from? Interfaces. Create nodes, or let's say this is a node. It is basically returning a node like this. So if you come over here and in the node interface, if you hover over this node, you will see that we have an ID string, title, content, user ID, and this. So if you hover over inode is extending this node. Then this is basically what is being returned after a node is created. Okay, so now you can come over here. You can just hover here on this, and then come. If you hover over this, you can click on quick fix and then annotate. So this is a promise, and then it's returning this. So if you come over here and try to return something else, we want to make our application well structured and more readable. If you return no, you get an error. Okay. Supposed to get an error, and here it's saying notes, return no. Okay. Oh, returns a promise of inode. Inode promise. Okay, so return nothing, you get an, we're supposed to get an error here. And these errors are going away for nothing. Okay, if you return nothing, you get an error here. A function whose declared type is neither undefined or enough must return a value. Okay. So let's uncomment this. So this is great. Now we can come over here and see this one is returning. We can see, okay. Let's document this as well, like this. What is this one returning here? Okay. Get all nodes, and it's returning an array of nodes. So you can annotate this, hover over this, and then click on quick fix. You hover over this one, click on quick, what is this? Okay, let's just come over here and then do something like this. Promise and then nodes. Okay, so now you are documenting all your function, all your methods. You can come over here. Okay, GitHub Copilot, thank you for this one. The node ID, the user ID, and It's returning a note. You can say get a note ID. And in the param, you can see here is a param. You can see param. And here you can see the user ID is of type string, like this. Same as here, if you want to make it more explicit, you can say, okay, note is a create note DTO, create note DTO, and the user ID here is a string. Okay, so that once, before you even take a look at your function, you will see this and you see that, okay, the param here, this parameter is a note, which is a create note DTO. This one is a user ID, which is a string. And then you can see, okay, this, what does this function returns? It returns a promise, and this promise resolved to notes. Okay, this one returns a promise, which resolves to an array of notes. And like this, then you come over here, get a note. This one like this is resolved to a single note. Then you come up to update notes. And let's see what GitHub Copilot has for us. Okay, it has nothing for us. You can do this like this, and then we have the note. You can say, okay, this is create note DTO. This one here is a note ID, and this one here is a user ID. So if you come over here, what is this one returning? It's returning a promise that resolved to a note. After the note is updated, it will return it. So what is the function doing? The function is basically update a note, and then you can add more a description inside. Say update a note by ID, like this. Okay, this is more descriptive. Then you can come over here, hover over this, and then see, okay, quick fix, and then annotate with type from JS doc, and then hit enter, and then this will be annotated from promise inode, and this. Okay. And the reason why this is TS, but then this is not supposed to be JS doc, and then that is the reason why this is not even being enforced. Now, if you remove this and then say no, we're not getting any errors because JS doc is not even taking care of that. But if it is TX docs, you see that, okay, you get an error because what you are supposed to return is a promise that resolves to this thing here. Okay, this function is a promise that resolves to inode. Okay, so the delete note, what is the delete? Okay, this is sharp. This also returns a note with the note, okay, delete a note by ID, and then we can hover over this one and then say, okay, quick fix, annotate this with a promise inode. So once you look at this, you already know what this function is doing. And do you know why this is very, very important? Okay, now take a look at the documentation. Let's come over to Node Controller. So while coming over to Node Controller, we'll go to the delete function here, the delete method. Hover over this delete method and see what you've got. Okay, node service this. As you can see, look at the function, look at the parameter, look at what it's returning. And then look at the description, delete a note by ID. The parameters are ID, user ID. And then it returns a note. Okay, let's come over to the node service here and then remove all of this. Okay, now let's go over to node controller. Hover over this delete note, and you can see there's nothing. You just look at it and you know that it's returning the promise that resolved to a note. And if you come over here and remove this, if you remove this as well, you will not even see it. So this is the reason why documentation is very, very important. Now that we're documenting our function with JS docs, if you come over here and just hover at this function, and then you already know what the function is doing. So this is an abstraction. All the implementation details of this function is being, they are being abstracted. So the function is also documented so that when you hover at the function, you already see everything. Now you know why. If you see, okay, if you come over here and you see import fs from fs, and if you see, if you come, let's just come below, see fs, and once you hover over the read file sync, look at the documentation, returns the content of the path. For detailed information, see, all this is being documented, and you can see You can see here, you can see the param is the path, file name or file descriptor. And then since version 0, since node version 0.1.8, we had this file since then. If encoding the option is specified, then the function returns a string, otherwise it returns a buffer. Can you see that? That's the use of the documentation. So this function is documented internally, and that is the reason why we're having it. So once you can say fs, and then you can come to this one. This one also returns undefined because we are writing to a file, and that is documentation. So all the implementation is abstracted, and all these ones are for you to basically see it and understand what's going on without you having to go over to the docs and do all of that. So documentation is basically wonderful. Okay, so this is basically it. We've completed our app, and we can also write an interface for the user. Now, if you come over to Alt Controller and you hover over Sign Out, you can see that no documentation. You hover over Me, you can see there's nothing here, a user any and all of that. So if you hover over Sign In, okay, sign in here, there's no documentation. You don't even know what the function is being or what is returning or what is being implemented. Okay, so documentation is very, very important. So now we have our app. We've completed our next note. So let's ensure everything is working properly. Let's just stop our server already, clear it, and then see npm run build. Then hit enter. So let's see if everything built up correctly. Okay, so we have a build, everything is built. We have a dist folder that contains everything in our app. So let's delete this dist folder here and then run this command once more. Okay, so our app is building. Okay, so it's done building and we have this distributable folder. So we can take this folder and then run it on any NodeJs supported server. You can just take it to Fly.io or any NodeJS supported server and then basically run it there. Okay, so we've come to the end of the developing our app. So this is basically the environmental variables in our env file. So next, what we do is in our next class, in our subsequent class, like in our next class, what we will do is we write unit tests for auth service, and then the auth controller as well. We write unit tests for all of these. For the auth controllers, we write unit tests for the sign up and the sign in. So we'll come over to the auth service and we write unit tests for the sign up also and the sign in. Okay. Unit tests. Come over here, we write unit tests for the sign up and the sign in. So once we are done writing the unit test, the next thing is we'll proceed to deploy to Fly.io. So in our next class, we write unit tests, and after writing the unit test, next week Friday, we'll learn how to deploy to Fly.io. And deploying to Fly.io is not a one-day thing. We'll first of all learn how to use the static method of database replication, and then we'll learn to use the console. The console uses it automatically changes the primary instance. So if you set the primary instance and it goes down, it will reroute to another secondary instance till the primary instance is up and running. So basically, we'll talk about all these things later on, but for today, we'll come to the end of today's class, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask. Okay. So this, on all of this. Okay.
I have a question, sir.
Okay, go ahead and ask.
The class transformer, did we use it?
Yes, we used it.
Okay.
Let me show you how we use it. Let's come over to our package.json. Remove this. Save the file. Run npmi. Okay, so now let's start our app. Npm run start there. Okay, so our app is starting. Okay, so now let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and make a request of this, and then remove this, send this. Okay, we're having invalid credentials. So then, oh, okay. Can you notice something? Now we have .ch. What error are we supposed to get? Okay, username must be at least 3 characters. Okay. Invalid credentials. Okay, so now we have, okay, npm uninstall, okay, uninstall class transformer. Up to date editing. Okay, so we don't have a class transformer here, and we're supposed to get an error while we run this element. Yes, we have, okay, this global new validation pipeline. Okay. Okay, so what error are we getting? Okay, the app is not up and running. So let's try this once more, and if you don't get that error, then the class transformer is working under the hood. I don't know if Nest has installed it for us, but I know for validation, you need that class transformer. Sign in, invalid credentials. Okay, I request 3 characters. Okay, I don't know. Or let me comment this out and then do something. Oops. Okay, so I am shocked.
No, when you commented out the validation pipe now, it's not showing that must be less than 3 characters.
Okay, so let's make the request. Let's the application starts, and let's try to make the request once more. Okay, so now let's see, send this once more. I have now, let's bring back the validation pipe. Incremental compilation is done. Then let's send this once more. Okay, so I don't know, it's working out of the box, but then that's fine. That's another update for us, because initially I knew you have to install the class transformer before validating input in NestJs. But I think it is supported out of the box now. Let's hop over to Nest, and then we see intercept those custom decoders. We have security here, encryption. Okay. Let's see input validation. Is, let's say this is a pipe. Okay, editable transformation. Transform input data to the desired form. Okay, so you can come here, validation pipe. Okay. Pass int pipe. Okay. Pass int pipe. Okay. So this is now handled out of the box. It's the class transformer is now installed automatically. Yeah, it's installed under the hood. They are using it under the hood, so we don't need to install it.
Okay, sir.
So that is basically
so for the no console one that we're trying to do from the beginning, that one has to be in an array. It's going to work that way.
Okay, so let's see. But this is their default. This is okay. We have an object here. We've specified this is their default file here. We have a default file and it is being specified. So let's look at the package.json. And the dev dependencies, we have the TypeScript, ESLint parser, TypeScript, ESLint plugin, and all of that. Okay, so what I will do now is let me just stop the server and then use another project to show you an example.
So no, if you just use that no console and put that one inside square brackets, it's going to work.
Okay, ESLint RCJS. You mean this?
No, the way you did it initially, the no console, then the value 1.
Okay, 1 mean
Yes.
1 is 1 is let's you hop over to ESLint here. ESLint, the documentation, and then you hop over to rules. You can see that off is 0, 1 is 1, and error is 2. So let's come over here. You can say off is what? Off is 0, 1 is 1. So if you come out, this basically means 0, like this. So if you come over here and change this to 2, it means error. And then let's go over to source NodeJs, and then we say log process env. Okay, so unexpected console state. Okay, it's now working. Okay, but why are they using even this is supposed to work? Error. It's supposed to work. Is it working now? So why didn't it work initially? Okay, let me change it to 1. Oh, it's working now.
It's working now. Okay.
So if you want to change it, you can even change it to 1 and it will still be 1. And this will still be yellow. It's warning you that, okay, print the unexpected console statement. It's warning you, and okay, you can change this to and it will turn to an error. Okay, so that is basically how ESLint works.
All right, sir.
So you can add more rules here. You can add more rules here and then it will work. Okay, let's change it to 1 like this. And change this to off as it was off. So let's come over here and then you can see rules and rule severities. We have to change the rule severity, set the rule ID equal to one of these values. Off is 0, 1 is 1, error is 2, and all of that. So you can combine configurations as well, combine configs and all of that. So configuration files, the ESLint config.js, ESLint config NJS, and all of that. So it's basically, you can come over and get started. npm init ESLint config latest, and then you can install other things. Then you can also set up prettier. Then the rules have no unused vars, no undefined. Okay, if you come here and say, okay, let's copy this one. then bring it over here. Now let's move over to Alt, and then Alt controller, and then let's see. We're getting an error already. Alt service. We don't need this here, and that's the reason why we're getting this error. Alt service is defined but never used. Now, if you go back to ES limits and then say, okay, just one, don't throw an error, one. If you come back here, now we are getting a warning because this is an unused variable. Okay, so let's just, since it's warning us, let's remove this. Without the warning, we shouldn't have known that we're not using this thing. Okay, so let's remove it. Oh, are we using it? Why is it warning us? It's warning us and we're doing it. No, I use what service, this the service. Yes, limit warning us, but we can set another rule for that. Constructor whatsoever this, okay, let's remove this, let's service. Okay, that's basically how to use ESLint. So we've come to the end of today's class. We'll see again in our next class. Okay. So that's basically it.